if it means making the most dramatic change ever, just to get that peace of mind and settle, it's extremely important. I think I would say that started when I was fairly young. I think when I was a teenager, I mean, I was here, maybe on the island. I felt quite alone. Didn't maybe have a conventional family like other people, but I just seemed to have lots of bothers and anxieties about my family, about being on my own, and I started to feel sometimes that I cried a lot. Didn't really know what was happening. I used to cry quite a lot when I was a child and get quite despairing. And I think I feel that sort of now you know what it's all about, but it's one of the things I think when you're children, you don't really know what your mental health is. You don't know what your emotions are. You know, nobody tells you what these things are, and I mean, a lot of it probably would have been because of my family situation. I mean, but it doesn't always mean. I think when I was young, I had a lovely family and lovely grandma that brought me up and things. But sometimes you feel it's not enough, and it's not that you're being selfish. It's just your body tells you there's something still not right. You don't understand your feelings when you're young, but as I went through my teenage years, I had quite a tough time with my mental health. Just getting into deep depressions and extremely anxious a lot of the time. And I probably had quite a lot of what I would call negative behaviours. And it didn't help, but just it kind of exacerbated my emotions rather than, letting them settle. So I think, and one of the probably worst times I had was maybe around about between sort of 16 and 18. I was really, and I mean, I could see now looking back on photographs, I can see in my face, I can see the despair and things in my face. And there's lots of times I've thought about, I don't think I want to be here anymore. I don't want this life to go on. And now when you look back, I think it's such a shame because I had such a lot of happy times too. It's not that you're like this the whole time. You're quite often, you can be happy and you can be laughing and really enjoy things, but then right in the back of it, you can just go into this deep black hole that you really don't want to come out of. I was very fortunate then to have doctors that understood me and had medication that actually took me back, I felt, into balance. But I still had to struggle lots. And I didn't, I was a very chatty and bubbly person, but the anxiety that was underneath was it was so much to bear, to try and keep yourself, this mask on, and to keep yourself going. And I think when I was very lucky when I got married, that I had a partner that really, really understood, and I had a doctor that really, really sort of wanted to keep me right. But I struggled with still struggled quite a lot with life. I think because I'm quite I don't know, stubborn person. I just thought this can't be right. This can't be the only thing in life, because half of me wanted to do this and do that and be enjoying life, but I was just coming up against this black wall the whole time, and I couldn't move forward. And I think that's what I've done over the years. I've nearly retrained my mind and really just dug deep to try and find ways of coming out of this myself, because certain places that you stay in life, and especially when you're on an island or whatever, you don't have any professional help. And I thought I didn't want this to beat me out. I didn't want to be beaten by it. And I just made some dramatic changes to my life because of it. And later on, I knew that I was sliding. I knew that things were going down and down. But I would say no, in my early youth, I didn't really realise until I was really in a pretty bad state. I personally have a faith as well, and I think not everybody's got that, but I certainly felt that if I was going to be honest, I knew that people were praying for me and things like that, and to me, my faith kind of stopped me a couple of times. And I remember one of the last times that I would say it would be the last time that I've contemplated it. There was a particular event that happened in the church that day, and I don't know whether I got an alert on my phone, and there'd been something happening at the church that I didn't realise until I got the alert this was happening. And it was friends of mine, and they were sharing their faith story in the church. And it just came up, and I just looked at my phone. I don't know why I looked at my phone, and this alert came up, and I pressed play, and it was their faith story. And that's, I mean, I feel quite emotional about that now, but them talking like that, and they were two close friends of mine, and they never told me that they were doing it that day. And I just, at this point when I was bad like that, I just couldn't go near the church or anything. But them talking, I don't know what it was. It just, I became very emotional and realised, I mean, that there was help, you know what I mean? So for me, I would say sometimes it's been my faith that's brought me back. And other times I still can't, I think it's because me and David are very close. I just still can't leave him, if you know what I mean. It's always something, there's always somebody walks through the door, but to me, that tells me it's my faith that's in it. But I think that's not everybody has faith, so that's, but that's what brought me back, I think. And I think it's sometimes you forget that the good friends you have, and that's what I feel sometimes. It's the most, it could be the most obscure person that you talk to, but it's funny what just sometimes can just click you back into reality, and I think it's what I find now. It's been such a long time since I've felt like that you have to work incredibly hard to keep your mental health, and it means making sometimes most dramatic changes to your life. And I did it, and I just thought, well, if this means I live, I'm no caring whether I'm sweeping the streets or whether I'm a high-powered nurse. It doesn't really matter, because if you can't handle that pressure, don't put yourself through it. Don't do that, because if it means making the most dramatic change ever, just to get that peace of mind and settle, it's extremely important. And that'd be one thing I would say to anybody, is just don't be frightened to make huge changes in your life, just to get the even balance, get the stress down, and feel happy, because even the move that I've made recently home, I can't believe how incredibly happy I feel and how settled, because I just think, I could be working in intensive care or whatever. I could be really stressing myself out every day, but no, I had to make that sacrifice to keep my mental health right. And I would just solely advise anybody to don't be frightened to make dramatic changes in your life, just to keep your mental health, because it's certainly worth it. So that's one of the things that you find in an island. You just have one option, and if that one option collapses, there's nothing. So I think the islands are changing now, where people are recognising mental health a little bit better. There's maybe not so much a stigma with it now, but it's still there. And I think if we kind of were able to teach the local community a little bit more about the mental health and mental health first aid, that would be a great thing, and people maybe wouldn't be quite so ashamed or embarrassed about their mental health. We have to become very resilient here. The first obvious thing is the weather, because in the winter we can have storm after storm after storm, and even just the sound of that wind every day, and especially if you're suffering with mental health, that can really, really drain you. And it's because you can't go anywhere. You can't really go out the door because the wind's that bad, or if it's wind and rain, you just can't really go anywhere. And then it stops the boat coming, so we've no groceries, we have no fresh food. There's lots of things, and you have to leave the island for so many things like appointments, because there is just days and days where we're cut off from the rest of the world, and then on the back of that, sometimes your hydro can go off, your electric goes off, because of the storms. You lose internet contact, so it becomes very, very isolating in a very short time. But equally, in the summer, then it's long, long summers and beautiful nights, and it can lift people. I mean, we've had people with the seasonal affective disorder where, the winters become a problem for them, and then in the summer everything's fine, So that's something that people in remote and rural areas, I think, is quite common in remote and rural areas because of the differences in light, The darkness can be here for a long time in the winter with very little light, in the houses and things. It's very naturally light and dark. I think now I've semi-retired too, and I think that helped. And I do lots of things that make me happy. Things I've had to leave behind before that maybe other people would go out and play squash or something. I used to like going out walks and seeing nature and looking at the birds and going to the beach and writing and things like that. And I never had time for it before, because I think that sometimes as well, people never have time for the things that really make them happy. And now I make a lot of time for things that make me happy. I try and get involved in my history, because here we've got lots of historical sites. We've got like active archaeological sites, and I love things like that. And the beaches and things here are just so fantastic. And we go every night. I go every night to see the waves coming in before I go, go to settle down for the night. I like to see the sea every day, and I think it's just that I'm in a very happy place now. I find that I've made such a lot of changes that now I've found the balance. I kind of try to find somebody that I would say try and find somebody that you can speak to, and I'll not be the most obvious person, and don't be frightened to ask a stranger. As in, if you've got a local church, go to the church and see somebody, or just really actively try and find a charity, because sometimes people don't like to. Like, I didn't always like to go to the maybe local services, GP and things. I think sometimes it can be somebody in a charity. Look at who you've got in your local area, and just take that first step and walk through the door and ask to see somebody. Do you know what I mean? Ask to speak to somebody. It's finding somebody that you can trust. You know what I mean? If you can trust them, and just tell somebody. Just always tell somebody how you're feeling, because sometimes it'll surprise you how people don't know. They don't know what's going on, and I mean, it's funny how you find it'll talk to you. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, nowadays I would say even use things online. The self-help things. Try and sort your life out and then get rid of things that you don't need in your life.